Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee Snobs and Their Books. I'm your host, Tasha Scott, and I'm excited to have you join us for today's conversation. This is our first episode, and we have a special guest, my guy, Kenton Rogers, aka Whiskey Blue. Before we get started, I'd like our guest to introduce himself. Kenton, thank you for being here today. Please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your background, and what led you to become a rideshare driver and eventually an author.
Wow. Well, first of all, Tasha, thank you. I'm honored to be able to be here with you as your special guest on this first episode. And
Yes.
just to introduce some people to me, um, most people are familiar with me by the name Kenton Rogers. I have been a gospel artist, ever since way, 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 way back. I'm not going to tell you how far back. But I used to be with the Williams Brothers label. And my projects were recorded by Melvin and Doug Williams. They were the producers of my projects on the Blackberry Record label. Um, Over time, I was with them maybe for about 10 years. And then to kind of speed up the pace, in 2019, I had a second stroke. And when I had that second stroke, it affected me um, vocally. And so I still can sing, but I don't have the range that I used to have back when I first recorded back in the early 90s. And so then I had to pivot because the reality is that even though people
Mhm.
invited me to sing and to preach back then, once I had the stroke, they forgot all about me for the most part
Mm.
because they remember the singer preacher that they were drawn to. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
once I had the stroke and could no longer do things the way I did them before, they didn't necessarily um, see value in me anymore. And so when you have spent your life singing and preaching, and then you have a stroke and then people forget about you, you know what I'm saying, or don't see you the same anymore, then you have to pivot, you know. And I had to start driving for rideshare. And that's pretty much a brief introduction of me. I'm born and raised in Patterson, New Jersey,
Woo, woo, the tri-state.
in the tri-state. Pastored in Jersey City, New Jersey, and New York City for many years. Lived in Baltimore, Maryland. And then out from Baltimore, that whole story began that led me to living in Illinois, you know, and and we'll talk about that whole story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, yes. That's awesome. Well, today, thank you for introducing yourself. That's just a little brief. He has so much now. Let me say this. Now, um, so I was having a hard time. My son got sick, my mother died, my husband got sick, and I was just going through. I just felt so low. And I remember driving from Waco to Louisville to get some stuff for my husband. Louisville takes about almost 2 hours away from Waco. And when I was coming back, I don't know, I said I just typed in, Lord, I needed some some music that was just gonna get me through. I was stuck in traffic. I was just sad. A lot of thoughts was compounding me, and I just typed that I need some. Really, I said I needed some sad music. But your song popped up, blessed, and I was like, who is this guy? I've never seen him before, and I was like, oh, who is this? And I believe you was on Gospel Today. Oh, you still had your box. So you still had a little bit of hair on your head. And God used that
Uh-huh.
song "Blessed" to really encourage me and really help me through that situation that I was going through. And I believe I listen to that song almost every day. So me, I was like, I hope this guy doesn't think I'm weird, but I'm gonna just DM him and say thank you because I was really blessed. And so that has started a beautiful journey and friendship with me and my guy, Mr. Rogers. So let's get to it. We're gonna be talking about this book right here, people. This is his first book, and I'm so excited for him. And if anyone wants a copy of this, just DM me, and I'm giving away free 3 free copies. Okay, so Mr. Kenton, what inspired you to start documenting your experience as a rideshare driver? And this is kind of like a two-part question. And was there a Pacific ride or a passenger that made you realize that these stories needed to be told?
Wow. Well, you know, a lot of people don't have had challenges with me actually telling my story, but
Mm,
I was living in Baltimore, Maryland, Tasha.
mm,
And outside of Baltimore, Maryland, I received a phone call. My siblings and I received a phone call that my brother, Leroy Tyndall, needed somebody to come and check on him. Now, I have 4 other siblings, which I do not deal with them now. I love them, but
mm,
I've had to go totally no contact with them. And there's a reason for it. And I had to do what I had to do to protect my peace. You
mm,
know, I went down to Sumter, South Carolina to check on my oldest brother, Leroy. When I got there back in 2023, he wanted me to stay with him. And I stayed with him from about August or September of 2023
mm,
to March 2024. And in March of 2024, I drove up to Baltimore to clean out my apartment and to turn my keys in. I
mm.
had been away from Baltimore so long, but still keeping my apartment,
Yes.
and the management needed to get into my apartment, so they didn't have keys. So they changed the locks. So
Mm,
before I went up there, I had to call them and I let them know, well, I'm coming in town. Can you please leave my keys with security? Because I'll be in town
mm,
later that particular evening. And they did so. So when I got up there and got into my apartment, I cleaned out my apartment and gave a lot of stuff away and stuff like that. What stuff I still had. And when I gave this stuff away, I turned my keys back in and I sent them a note to let them know that I was vacating the property for good and
mm.
everything. So I stayed with my brother at that point. I only went up there for a day or two because my brother really didn't need nobody to not be with him at that point.
Mm,
I kept my siblings engaged about my brother the whole time,
mm,
but they did not come really to check on him or to give me a break with him or anything. So I became his caregiver, you know,
mm,
and I communicated with them, you know, and then after that, he passed away in June.
mm.
And of course, the way siblings can be, they won't be there in your life, but they will show up in your death because they want your property and your
Yeah.
estate and your things that you left behind. But this wasn't the first time that my family, not
Mm,
all of them, but some
yeah.
of them have done stuff like this. And of course, they don't want me to tell it because family thinks that the dirty laundry is supposed to stay in the family and they not be held accountable for
Mm,
their actions and everything like that. And
yes.
so my oldest sister wanted his album collection. My baby brother wanted his collection of what you call it, his jerseys and everything.
Mm,
My brother right over me moved into my brother's house with me, but he brought his girlfriend with him. But he wasn't
mm,
there while my brother was alive. But when he died, he gave up his place in Myrtle Beach, moved into my brother's house with him and his girlfriend. My niece, my oldest sister's daughter, she moves in with her girlfriend and
mm,
her two children. You know what I'm saying? And it was just a lot of toxicity that came into the house from
mm-hmm.
people who were not willing to be there while my brother was alive. And then I had another sister, my baby sister, who had borrowed money from my brother, you
Mm,
know, and I got all of this information after I got there. You know what I'm saying? She had
yeah.
borrowed money from him, but hadn't paid him back when she was supposed to, and went long periods of time, ghosted him, not saying anything. And when she
Mm-hmm.
finally started paying him back, she started paying him back in little increments of $50 here, maybe $100 here, or something like that, you know. But long story short, I left the house
Mm,
because I was the only one that gave up my house, my apartment, when my brother was alive. But I
mm,
had no place to go. And so at that particular point, Tasha, I just started driving
mm,
and staying at hotels until my money ran out.
mm,
When my money ran out, my car broke down in Myrtle Beach. And in Myrtle Beach, when it broke down, I had to have it towed to be repaired. But all of the stress and the tension, I'm really just now, the past week or so, since I stopped driving for a moment,
mm,
am now able to start decompressing
mm,
from all of the tension
yeah.
and the stress. Because after the car broke down, I ended up in the hospital in Myrtle Beach for almost 2 to 3 weeks. And when
Mm,
I came out the hospital, I was now officially homeless.
mm,
So from there,
mm-hmm.
for the first time in my life, I ended up having to stay in a homeless shelter
Mm,
because, of course, my siblings were not even willing to work with me in
mm,
opening up probate for my brother. You follow what I'm saying? Because
yes.
had they done that, things would have been divided equally.
Mm,
But they didn't want to go through the process. They didn't want to pay. They didn't want to pay to help keep the house up.
mm-hmm.
I spent all my money keeping the house up that first month after my brother passed. You know, I think my
Yeah.
sibling right over me, he may have paid $300. You follow what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
even when he came the day of my brother's funeral, he didn't even come to the funeral. He stayed at the house. That he
Wow.
never was willing to come to see my brother.
Mm,
You know? And so it's been a unique situation dealing with them.
mm-hmm.
But from that process, I stayed in a shelter and it was very, very taxing on me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Unusual for me to do because that wasn't the life that I was used to. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and having to live in a shelter amongst people that I didn't know and everything like that. And so then I had a friend that I thought was a friend,
Mm-hmm.
um, invited me to come up to Kankakee, Illinois. And when
Wow.
I came up to Kankakee,
Uh-huh.
Illinois, I knew nobody up here but
Mm-hmm.
him. He told me I could come and start rebuilding my life. So when I came up, the first thing I did was I rented a car to drive for Uber,
Mm,
which I had done when I was living in Baltimore.
yeah.
And after that, because so I'll let you know, when I came out the hospital, The mechanics that fixed my car would not give it back to me for what
Wow.
it cost them to fix it. They then wanted to add on all this storage charge, which I didn't have. I said to them, listen, I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Can you
Mm,
at least give it back to me on reasonable accommodation and allow me to just pay for what it costs to fix the car? But they
yeah.
wouldn't do it. They kept all my stuff and everything that I had in the car, nothing. That's what happened there. So when I got up to Kankakee, I rented a car in
Hmm.
a few days. But from the time I got to Kankakee, the person I came with, it was very unique to me, and I knew already it wasn't going to be a good situation. But now I
Mm,
was all the way in Illinois knowing nobody. You know what
wow.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they were about to, the electricity was about to get cut off. They had told me I
Hmm.
would have my own room when I got there, but when I got there, I ended up staying in their room, sleeping on a mat on the
Hmm.
floor in their room, which was their living room that they made their room with their dog, and they expected me to feed their dog out of my place.
Wow.
It was so toxic, Tasha, until I had to leave that situation as
Mm,
well. And when I left that situation, I ended up getting a case manager because I am HIV positive,
hmm.
and I needed my medicines and stuff like that. And I had a case manager who was in at CUPHD in Champaign, and my
Hmm.
case manager knew my situation and told me that he had just gotten a phone call from
Mm,
the GCAP case manager at that time. And they told him that they had a room available. And he told me if I
praise
wanted
God.
that room in their transitional house, I could come. I said, so if I get my things and bring them on down, which is 70 miles from Champaign, if I
Wow.
get my things, are you sure they're going to let me in? He said, get your things and come, and we'll have the case manager meet you here to do
Hmm.
your intake and everything. And so I went back to the young gentleman's house, and when I went back to his house, I he had been drinking all night long the night before and smoking weed all night long. He was still having a hangover. He was under his covers. I
Mm,
went in, grabbed my things, I left, and never went back. And that's how I
mm.
ended up in a program called GCAP.
GCAT.
I still had the car that I was renting from
Mm.
Greater Community AIDS Project. Well, not from them, but I still had the car I was renting from
Yeah.
her Uber partnership. When I drove down, that was how I was able to get down to from Kankakee to Champaign to the house. But even after that, I ended up in the hospital again for
Mm.
2 weeks, you know,
Yeah.
and that whole process just led through a number of different things.
Hmm.
I ended up taking that car back while I went through the process of getting a catheter put in the star peritoneal dialysis.
Yes.
And around September last year, I got a car again and started driving. And that's where the whole piece started, me writing this book
Hmm.
about stories from the rideshare driver's seat.
Oh, praise God.
I
That was
know I
a
said
journey.
a whole lot, but
Hmm.
that kind of
No,
tells
that
you how
that
I got
that
here.
is good because a lot of times, we always we don't tend to give backstories on why we write books and stuff. We just they're just out there, but we never know what an individual has went through, and that's an amazing journey. And I thank God that he has kept you through those experiences. Do you believe that? Because we're gonna get to the book, but do you believe that you going through all those things that it made you a little bit more compassionate, a little bit more empathetic for the people that have gotten to the ride share with you?
Um, I don't know, Tasha, if it made me more compassionate, but I
Mm.
am definitely more empathetic.
Oh, praise God. I know.
Yeah. Because
I know
I
that's
say
right.
that because I've always been a compassionate person. I've always extended grace and
Hmm.
compassion to people that don't extend it back to me. And that's from my family, from my friends. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I have always been one that have given compassion and extended grace to people, but they won't extend back to me the same grace that I extend to them.
Mm.
It's almost like they don't feel I
Yeah.
deserve the grace that I give to them.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot in that. And this is gonna help our viewers. Do you believe that okay, so this is another question. I want to see was there a story that was like especially difficult or especially rewarding to write?
Say that again.
Was there any of these stories in the book? Was there a story that was especially difficult or especially rewarding to write? Because you have a lot of stories. Like you're a great, you know what I'm saying, storyteller. And how you put it, it's like, wow. You know what I'm saying? So was there any stories that, that were kind of difficult to write? Because you don't go great in depth into like the stories, but there's just enough to be like, man, I can see myself in that story.
Right. Well,
Mm,
I will say this to you. Stories from the rideshare driver's seat is
mhm,
written in a very unique way.
mhm,
I've had many passengers get into my car
mhm,
that inspired stories.
mhm.
Some of the stories, because remember, it's written fictional stories inspired by the truth
By the
of the
truth,
road,
yes.
you
Hmm.
know, but it's real people, real moments, real rides. And so as I write, um, some okay, let me say this specifically. There was a woman that got in my car
Hmm.
and she was coming from the hospital
Mm.
and she had was recovering from, or she's a breast cancer patient. And that's the story that I wrote that's called The Pink Ribbon Ride. So
Hmm.
she actually got in my car. All right.
Mm.
Um, there's a story in here about, and I will say this, a lot of people expect, because they've been telling me I need to write a book for a long time. And I
Yes.
have a lot more books in me that I'm going to
Mm.
write even during.
Yes.
I've started writing um, during this time of my decompressing as well. I've been writing.
Mm.
Um, but I think a lot of people thought when I wrote this book or this book came out, they were
Hmm.
probably expecting me to really just dog out my siblings. You know, I
Mm.
have a
Yeah.
story that I just
Yes.
shared with you about my siblings, but I didn't
Yes.
write none of that in the book.
No.
I didn't
Mm-mm.
even refer to my siblings in this book. You
Oh
know what
no.
I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
Because I didn't think they deserved that energy. And they probably
Mm.
didn't even deserve the energy that I gave. But people need to know my story and
Yes.
what I have come through. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
have a testimony.
Yes, you
I
do.
have dealt with some wicked siblings. You know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
I'm still alive.
Yes.
And I really don't believe they wanted me to be alive. But I
Mm.
had to move when God told me to move.
Yes.
Because when they came into the house, me and my brother was fine. But after my brother passed and they came into the house, I had siblings, well, not siblings, but my sibling and my niece. We're talking about rats. You know what I'm saying? And rat poisoning. Never had any of that stuff dealt with while I was there
Mm.
with my brother. Never saw no mice, never saw no rat. Because let me tell you something. I'm afraid of mice.
Me too.
So had I saw mice in my brother's house, listen, I don't like water bugs. So if I had saw mice, it wouldn't have been as easy for my brother to get me to move with him.
I know. And where we from, they got big rats. They look like cats. So yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So after being there for a while, my niece wanted to cook for me, right?
Hmm.
And she was cooking for me and stuff like that. And then there was a day God said, stop eating what they cook for me and stop taking any of my medication. They act like they were so
Ooh.
concerned about me. But
Mm-hmm.
God told me stop eating and stop taking the medicine and only take my medication that had a seal on it. And that only medication was my HIV medication, Tasha.
Mm.
And then God told me I needed to leave, and I had an issue with God about that because I didn't understand how I could be the one to give up my place
Yeah.
to serve my brother, be his caregiver, and all of that stuff. You know, and then I need to be the one that need to leave. But God was moving me to leave because my family did not mean me any good.
Mm.
But I'm still alive, and I
Yeah.
still love. I don't hate them, but I don't want nothing to do with them because I don't trust them.
Mm.
And even the Bible tells us don't put our trust in man. But it's more difficult when you can't trust your own siblings.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And so it
Mm-hmm.
was a struggle for me because I served my brother like God told me to.
Mm. Praise
You
God for that.
understand what I'm saying? And so
Mm-hmm.
I have to share this stuff with people, but I didn't put it in the book. But
No,
it's a part of my journey.
it's a part of your, because I mean, really, when people pick up this book, it's not telling stories that are like, oh, this is gossip. It's not even like that, because I actually took this whole book and read it in one day. It was
Right.
that good, and that's why I want people to um read this book, because I say that because the first chapter, like we spoke about homelessness, right? The first chapter, I used to be homeless. I know how it is to, I was in the military. I moved to from Georgia to Texas, and when I got to Texas, my husband didn't want it, my ex-husband, he didn't want to be married no more. So I found myself homeless, or as they want to say now, unhoused. And that was a very, I mean, I can't even explain the the pain that I felt. And when one part of the book, the guy, you was bringing them to the shelter, and he said, he said, I thought this ride was gonna feel like the end of something, but it doesn't. It feels like maybe the beginning. And I was like, man, I was thinking about that. I was meditating on that. And it was, and I was reflecting on all the things that I went through when I was homeless. And one thing I realized, I used to think that homelessness assumed we were looking at an end, like this was the end,
Yeah.
the end of stability, the end of options. But that is not the case. And I
Right.
think the how you put it in the book, it just, it was compelling, and it was emotionally rich. There, I realized that there's certain moments in our life we walk into, them expecting it, and preparing for it, but God.
But God. And can I
But
tell
God.
you about that chapter?
Yes. Mm.
When I came down
Hmm.
to from Kankakee
Yes.
to Champaign, Illinois,
Hmm.
and met at the CUPHG, Champaign Urbana um, Public Health District, and
Yes.
I met the case manager from GCAT,
Yes.
along with my case manager from there.
Hmm.
After I did the intake, she then led me because I had an Uber partnership rental.
Hmm.
She directed me to where I was going.
Mm.
So that story is
Woo.
really inspired by my own personal experience.
Wow.
There was nobody in the car with me but
Wow.
me. She was in the car in front of me,
Wow.
but I was sitting in the rideshare driver's seat while
Mm.
also dealing with myself sitting in the back seat.
Wow.
And that's where that chapter comes from.
Oh, that's because I was like, wow, this is amazing. I thank you for that, because I'm just like, man, you would never think unless we ask, right? But you
Right,
have these mantras. I say they're mantras at the end of every chapter of your book,
right.
right? And at the end of that, it says some rides take people across town, others take them back to themselves.
To themselves.
As the kids say, clock that T,
Yeah.
because that right there, that right there speaks so much volumes. I'm gonna repeat it again for my listeners. Some rides take people across town, others take them back to themselves.
Yeah.
Because even in as I reflect on being homeless, it was so much that God was pruning out of me and teaching me, you know. So yes, that took me back to myself. It made me realize that my ex-husband was an idol in my life, that everything he was I was, and I used to think that I couldn't make it without him.
Yeah.
But in that homelessness, God showed me, I got you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to build you back up. I'm going to make sure you get on your feet, and I'm going to do it. So yes, thank you for that. That is Ken, that is amazing. Um so how did these experience change you personally?
Um, I have met so many people in the vehicle that I was driving. I call it a sanctuary on wheels, you
Mm.
know. And people have shared so much to me. I'm grateful for volume one,
Yes.
but
Wait, you can't tell them you know you're coming out with another one. If they read the book, they'll see it.
I am preparing volume two now.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think in volume two, you all will get many more stories of
Mm-hmm.
actual passengers that got into the vehicle.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because there are stories here where passengers got into the vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
but um, but there are also stories that's written very fictionalized that were inspired. Because like you asked me about one of the story, well, I'm gonna tell you about one of the stories that I
Mm.
wrote. It's the that really stands out for me. It's chapter 12.
Mm.
It's the ride that pulled me back and stayed.
Mm.
And what people don't know that you need to know about this again is not an actual passenger that got in my vehicle, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a person that came into my life while I was at GCAP.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a gentleman that was in the house, and he was so inspiring to me, because when he originally came into the program, he had
Mm-hmm.
both of his legs. But
Mm.
once I arrived in the program, he had had an experience where he lost both of his legs were amputated, and
Ooh.
he was in the house in
Mm-hmm.
a wheelchair. But he was one of the most inspirational people in my life, and I write about him coming into the vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
but he just came into my life. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time while I was in the house, I was really battling depression in a major,
Mm.
major way. I didn't want to live anymore, Tasha, because I was
Mm.
so hurt and so broken by what my family had done to me and my siblings. So
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling with God and my belief with God and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But this guy who had both of his legs amputated had such a
Mm-hmm.
smile on his face and was
Wow.
encouraging to me. And when I got into the program, he literally would say to me, he said, "Man, we're going to make sure you eat." Because I didn't have no food or anything. And
Wow.
he said, "You're never going to go hungry here." And it was him that started pulling me and knocking on my door, coming to my room door, and
Mm.
getting me to come out the room because I wouldn't even come out the room.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And I really literally, people don't know, I spent time listening to the train coming right down the block. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And I
Yes.
was keeping time of what time it came and everything because I was preparing to take my life because I was broken. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? But this brother
Yes.
pulled me back. You know what I'm
Praise
saying?
God.
And I'm grateful to God for sending
Mhm.
somebody into my life that inspired me to come and watch this. He doesn't even believe in God
Wow.
the
Uh,
way I believe in God or you
mhm.
believe in God. You know what I'm saying? Though he
Yes.
grew up in the church and stuff, but I know that God used him.
Yes, he did.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's unique to me all in itself. And we are good friends, you know what I'm saying, to this day. And I'll be
Mm,
honest with you, that's why I'm not like other people. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? My ministry isn't like others. I know a lot of preachers and pastors, they some believe in holiness or hell. You know what I'm saying? And they
mm,
stay on that and stuff like that. And like it's almost like you ain't supposed to have nothing going on with you in this life. But
mhm,
then they turn around and say we've all sinned and we all come show the glory of God. Well, how can we be as perfect as you're putting on that we can be if we've
mhm,
all sinned and come show the glory of God and we're still yet sinners? You may
mhm.
not do certain things, but you still think certain things, and then you
Yeah.
sin by omission. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I
Yeah.
don't understand this kind of stuff, heebie jeebie stuff that people, I love people. If I'm
Mm,
saying, I can go to different churches and stuff like that, and I know how to eat the meat and discard the bone. But don't mean I believe everything a person preaches to me. I'm a
yes.
grown man.
Yeah,
I
I
know
need
how
to.
to
I love people
discard
too.
and take
Yes.
what I need.
Exactly. 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 And I think that was really makes you unique because you do love people. Even just by getting to know you now, it's just you're an awesome guy, man.
Thank
Um you are. And I'm glad that God placed you in my life. I know because when you were sharing that and you said that about that guy, yeah, I have that's true because sometimes God will use just people that we kind of count out to help
you. Yeah,
us. And I think we have to stop doing that because sometimes the people that do believe in the Lord, sometimes they tend to shun us. But thank God for him, and I'm gonna continue to pray for him. But this is one thing that you said. He said he thinks he was just sharing his story that day. He doesn't realize he was saving my life. Some rides end at the destination, but some rides they stay with you.
yeah.
What? That's my God. Look at that poetic right there. Um. So, what do you hope readers take from these stories?
I just hope that number one, like you just read the different pieces, I feel like in some ways it's almost like a devotional or something like that.
Yeah.
You don't need have to read this book all the way from cover to cover to get something out of it. You can just go read a chapter.
You can read a
I
chat.
just want, as people read, for them to get whatever it is that they need to help them either where they are at this moment or where they find themselves at some other place in their life, and ultimately I want people who are experiencing homelessness, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, or any type of trial or tribulation in their life to know that everything is figure outable. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Everything is figure outable. And when you feel like you're at your lowest and you don't know what you're going to do and how you can survive, I want you to know that you can overcome depression. I want you to know that you can
Mm-hmm.
continue to live even after a cancer diagnosis. I want people to know that they can live even after they find themselves unhomed or homeless. Now, it's
Mm-hmm.
unique that people want to use the word unhomed, but yet and still they treat you like you're homeless.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Because there's a different energy that comes with being homeless and with being unhomed. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? But I knew
Yes.
people when you're an empath and you meet people, their energy is like there was something derelict about you. You know what I'm saying? And they have to get to know you as a person because they believe a lot of time that every person that's homeless has become homeless. You know what I mean? The same way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But
Yeah.
everyone has a different story. We don't
Everyone
all have
has
the
a different
same story.
story. No, we don't. I know that's right. I know that's right, because a lot of people. I know I've been telling people about this, about your book, and I was just like, just take time and just you. It's just you see yourself in the stories. I mean, there's countless. I don't want to give it all away because I want people to buy the book. I want people to get a because I've been writing in the book because
Okay.
it just brings back things that I'm like, wow. And you put it so eloquent and you put it in ways you'd be like, man, and these catches, these mantra things kind of catch you and stuff like that. And I'm writing and I'm thinking like it brings me back into remembrance of how and through all the challenges, all the trials, how God is faithful through all of that,
Yeah.
even where you think he has forsaken you, or he's always there. So I mean, the book is awesome. You already kind of alluded to what next for you as a writer. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more? I know, now I will give him this little plug a little bit. I will give him a little plug. Hold on, let me see where it's at, where it says teaser
Uh-huh.
volume 2. Okay, now y'all need to go get my guy's book now. You hear me? No. But you have a teaser. That's a little teaser, and you gave a little bit of detail. Do you want to elaborate on that, or you want them to, or we're gonna just be like, be continued and let them be in suspense about the next
How
volume?
about you read the teaser?
You want me to read the teaser?
Go ahead on. It's okay.
Okay.
I
Okay. Let
didn't
me
write
just.
this book to make money. You feel what I'm saying? I
No,
wrote
no,
this
that's fine.
book to help me through my
Yes.
whole process and to start writing. You feel what I'm saying? And everything
Mhm.
like that.
Okay. All right. You hear that, y'all? So it says the teaser for volume 2. The road gets darker, the truth gets deeper, the stories get realer. Every story in volume 1 brought you closer to the heart of the road. The quiet confessions, the whispered truths, the moments that changed people in the span of a ride. But some stories don't end with the car stop. Some stories follow you home. Some stories wait in the shadows. Some stories refuse to stay buried. Whiskey Blue knows this better than most. Long before he became a rideshare driver, he stood behind a pulpit at Oasis of Love Ministries, a pastor ahead of his time, creating a sanctuary for the ostracized, the marginalized, the rejected, the distressed, the misunderstood. He didn't know then that the very people he fought to protect would one day mirror his own journey. He dreamed of helping the homeless only to become homeless himself. He preached healing only to face his own diagnosis of HIV. He built a refuge for the broken only to discover that he too would need a refuge. What felt like loss was preparation. What felt like a collapse was foundation. What felt like the end was only the beginning. And now the road is calling him deeper. The young man from the midnight ride, the one whose family believed he was dead, didn't disappear after that night. His story didn't close with the door of the car. It opened something bigger, something darker, something that pulled Whiskey Blue into a world he never expected to enter. Volume 2 picks up where the night left off with unanswered questions, hidden dangers, and a truth that refuses to stay quiet. In the next volume, you'll encounter stories that test the limits of compassion. Writers running from more than heartbreak, secrets that carry real consequences, moments where safety, faith, and instinct collide, and a mystery that stretches far behind a single ride. The road ahead is not gentle, it is not predictable, it is not safe, but it's necessary because some stories demand to be told, some lives depend on being heard, and some journeys don't just change the passengers, they change the driver. Hey, I know that's right. I know that's right. Come on with it, brother. Come on. Oh, so my guy. This was an awesome time together. I just want to tell you I love you and I'm rooting for you.
Thank
And I'm
you.
so glad that you allowed me to be a part of your life. And I mean that speaks really volumes to me because I just love you. I love your music. Look at this. I always be looking like look at this box. I mean, just had it clean back in the day, and I mean just looking at your videos and even watching some of your clips of you preaching. I didn't know you was a hooper. I
You
was
didn't know
watching what
that.
I didn't know that you was like, oh God. I was like, go ahead with it. Oh, want to do it. Oh. No, I'm playing. See, look, I got a mic right here, but I ain't gonna get on it right now. So, yes, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on today, for joining us today, and sharing your journey, your experiences, and the stories behind stories from the rideshare driver's seat. Real people, real moments, and real rides. To
And I
everyone,
will say, if you don't mind me, someone
go
asked
ahead.
on the screen where I shout out to Jonathan McDowell. Um, but he asked the question, where can we purchase the book? I want you all to know that it can be purchased on Amazon, from Amazon.com or Barnes and Noble, and there are other places as well. But probably the most popular, you all will know, it will be Amazon or Barnes and Noble is where you can get the book. And thank you very much, Jonathan. I appreciate you, bro. And
Yes,
also, go
mhm, go ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Who's that? Veronica out there.
Veronica
Um,
Nichols. Hmm.
Thank you very much, Veronica. And thank you, Tasha, for even allowing me to come on and be your first special guest
Oh,
on
yes.
Coffee Snobs and their books. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Am I a snob?
You
Maybe
might be a coffee
I
snob.
might be a
You
little
like coffee?
snobbish at times. You know what I'm saying? But I try to do it with love. But I have my moments also. But I appreciate being invited to come on Coffee Snobs and their books and to
Oh,
talk about
yes.
my book and everything like that. I
Oh,
really
definitely. And we will love you to be a guest, not just talking about books, but we also we're not just we're talking about coffee. I'm gonna have upload more things about different coffees around the country. I'm gonna review those. We're gonna have some special guests that own bookstores and coffee shops.
okay.
And also we're gonna have hot topics, right? So I'm trying to get my one of my cousins to come on and talk about the importance of HBCU colleges. She and her husband graduated from North Carolina A&T, and talk about how that's those colleges are really influential and for the Black community and stuff like that. So trying to get different hot topics and other things that we could talk about, but I'm just gonna have hot topics, just throwing stuff out there, as we sip our coffee and talk about real life issues and situations that everything, even sharing your story and your journey. And so if you know anyone or anybody that will want to come join us on Coffee Snobs and their books, we
Okay.
will just DM me, and we can get that together, and we'll have a great conversation. So everything's in the works, so hopefully everyone would enjoy, the channel. So to everyone watching and listening, thank you for spending time with us today. If you enjoyed the conversation, please like, share, and follow Coffee Snobs and their books for more author interviews and book discussions. And also for your Facebook is Kenton Rogers, right?
Well, I have a number. The main one that I have that people are aware of is Kenton Rogers. But
Rogers.
I also have Whiskey
Whiskey
Blue,
Blue.
and it's
Okay.
spelled WHISKYBLU, and I have a Whiskey Blue author page as well.
Yes, and so y'all look those up too. Give him a shout out. He does a lot of great work. He does a lot of great interviews. He has a lot of knowledge and wisdom, information. He's not just a gospel singer, but he's a great man of God. He's an author. He's a life coach. He does it all, y'all. So he's just amazing. All right. So next time, keep reading, keep learning, and keep the coffee brewing. God bless y'all, and we'll see you at the next episode of Coffee Snobs and their books.